everyone, and welcome to ARC Advisory Group's Digital Transformation Podcast. This is Inderpreet Shoker, Senior Analyst at ARC Advisory Group, and today we are talking with Zameer Patel and Carlos Pazos of Honeywell. Zameer is the Director of Product Management for Honeywell Connected Industrials, and he specializes in consulting, coordinating, and developing enterprise-level strategies. And Carlos is the Product Marketing Manager at Honeywell Connected Industrials, and he is in charge of asset performance management and workforce productivity. Both of them are experts when it comes to asset performance management and asset performance management systems, and they are associated with some key initiatives around APM at Honeywell. So we are very fortunate to have both of them with us today and learn more about APM-related trends and technologies. So first of all, Zameer and Carlos, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having us, Inderpreet.
Our pleasure. So Carlos and Zameer, to start off, can you please share your and your company's definition of asset performance management or APM? Because in the industry, everybody knows about APM. And when we get into detail, the definitions may vary a little from company to company. So it would be very helpful if you could share some details on what you mean when you say APM.
Absolutely, Inderpreet. I think you're absolutely right. It's very important to have a common definition of asset performance management and how we take a look at that from the Honeywell perspective. Truly, for us, asset performance management systems are all about the efficient use of data and being able to apply a layer of analytics to provide timely notifications and truly give those clear next steps on what to do when you have an issue. So these are truly strategies that allow organizations to reduce their operational risk as they have a continuous way of identifying these problems and measuring against KPIs that matter to them and give them enough visibility about their operations so they can adjust and make changes as they go. And with asset performance management, we are giving them the ability to identify bad actors and the issues with these assets in a more efficient manner to be able to kick off corrective actions earlier. This is going to lead ultimately to assets that truly they can take to their technical limits for extended periods of time without compromising their integrity. And this translates in increments of production, being able to meet their goals, because now they are pairing these with dynamic maintenance strategies that are more efficient and that allow them to identify and solve problems faster.
Great. That is very helpful, Carlos. And if, Zameer, can you please share what is the importance of having an ingrained APM system with the rest of the enterprise?
Sure. This is a critical question, right? And as you know, production or maintenance functions, they typically go hand in hand. A suboptimal production can lead to increased maintenance and vice versa, wherein if you do reactive maintenance, that can lead to unplanned outages and therefore impacts on production. Hence, it's very important. There is a need for tighter integration and collaboration at the enterprise in order to improve asset performance. Now, coexistence of APM at the enterprise, it really complements the other enterprise systems. And the role that an ideal APM system should play is that of maximizing the customer investments in these enterprise systems. How it does that, number one, eliminates silos between the functions and therefore the systems and the decision making. The APM solutions should work as an aggregator of data to make it useful for decision making. And this data is not just data from your assets and sensors in the field, but also integration of data from the surrounding enterprise systems like your process historians for bringing in process and operations inputs, your CMMS systems to bring in aspects of work order statuses, the history of repairs, spares, inventory, data from field operations, corrosion data, inspection data. So the goal really here is to connect the dots on the potential impacts to asset performance and use these different data sets to have a 360-degree view of operations. Let me illustrate the importance of this by a quick example. Let's say you have a knocking in the gas compressor. Now, this may not necessarily be a result of a mechanical wear, but could be a result of a change in the composition of the feed gas to the compressor on the process side. So having that holistic view is important in terms of ensuring you are monitoring the relevant KPIs and therefore improving the overall equipment effectiveness. So in summary, really, APM should leverage and complement the other enterprise systems, all the sufficient necessary information to identify these sources of performance deviation and therefore, provide a clear path to bring assets back to optimal performance.
Great, Zameer. I absolutely agree with you. We are already collecting a lot of data and plans, but we are not leveraging all this data with, integrated APM systems. We can definitely put all this data to good use. That's very helpful. So moving on, Carlos, you and your team, you guys work with end users all the time. So can you please share what are the main challenges end users face when it comes to adopting and integrating these APM systems?
Yes, absolutely, Inderpreet. We have seen a collection of challenges when it comes to the people that we work with. I would like to start things like, for instance, from the human capital perspective, in such a way that this is something that is like you can see across multiple industries of whole generations of very experienced people that have a specialized knowledge, either on assets, processes, etc., but they are retiring. And all this knowledge is not being preserved, it's not being digitized. It's like newer generations of frontline professionals and people in operations, they cannot use these. And now they're facing with the challenge of having to ramp up faster on what they have to do. But now they're dealing with more complex and variant types of assets that they need to maintain, right? And that's their job now. So truly we need tools that allow them to be more efficient with this complexity. But something that we have also seen is now from the operational perspective is this lack of visibility that truly is not giving people the right tools to make decisions. Like we still see assets out there that either they are not fully connected, fully instrumented, or if they are, as you were mentioning, this data is not being used such a way that either they have very manual layers of analytics, or they're truly just going straight to reactive maintenance practices. But all this has to do with the way the systems were put in place to address these challenges. We have seen a lot of systems that grew in silos, and they are truly not connected and collaborative. And this is a great issue because all these pieces of data, all these different data sets provide different pieces of key information that is not being used for the benefit of these organizations. And this is because there's multiple options out there in the market, multiple ways of implementing different maintenance strategies. APM solutions, they come into place as an additional layer of complexity as the tool itself, because now you have this more advanced tool that first requires subject matter expertise to be able to properly configure the models, to be able to properly deploy and maintain those models, because they have to be adjusted, they have to be validated to the particular scenario of that organization. So truly, when it comes to these challenges, you have to start thinking of a more holistic, if you will, user-friendly solution that can actually span across multiple parts of the organization. As Zameer was mentioning, all this concept of aggregating data is very key to achieve that. And having a single view of your business across all these different levels at the enterprise level, that's something that is going to be key to make asset performance management solutions useful for the organization.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. But how is Honeywell addressing such integration challenges with Honeywell Forge APM?
Another important question, right? So with Forge Asset Performance Management, we in Honeywell have taken a very practical approach towards APM in order to accelerate time to value. So really, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So we have a crawl, walk, run mentality in how we have packaged our offering for our customers and in the process help them in addressing these challenges. Primarily, there are 4 pillars of the Honeywell Forge APM offering. Number 1, APM Insights. The second is APM Reliability. The third pillar is the APM Performance Optimization Package. And the fourth pillar is APM cost optimization. So the first one, the APM Insights package or the visibility package, this helps in creating situational awareness, providing visibility to asset health and abnormality by monitoring the assets in real time. This package helps identify and prioritize failures, and it really lays the foundational layer through quick deployment, providing sort of a unified end-to-end visibility of the health of your assets. It's like your dashboard on your car, right? Which provides an indication of, let's say, the health of your battery, the air pressures in your tires. So really primarily generating alerts, notification, workflows, help the ability to track and close asset health issues. So that's the APM Insights package. Moving on, then the second layer up is the APM Reliability package. Now, what this does is it builds on the foundation of the health package and primarily provides reliability analytics. Now you're expanding the scope from monitoring assets to now looking at the broader operations in which the asset is operating. So looking at plant reliability, for example, aspects of anomaly detection. How do you get to an early indication that an event is occurring or that something in the process is changing? The ability to do root cause analysis. What sensor or a piece of equipment or a process unit is the root cause of the abnormal situation? And it also provides actionable recommendation in terms of the causes, the consequences, and the corrective actions. So going back to our battery example, you're going a layer further where you're saying you're providing specific recommendation. Oh, there could be an issue with the fluid level in the battery is low, or there is a swelling or a bloating in the battery case, or based on the age, there's a certain remaining useful life for the battery. So that's your APM reliability package that drives the reliability improvements for the assets. The third package the third pillar that Honeywell Forge APM offers is the performance package. Now this, as the name suggests, it drives efficiency improvements. We have over 30 years of experience in this area using thermodynamic models, but primarily we're using this specific modeling technique to track equipment performance. There's 2 or 3 goals with this package, right? It helps maximize your production by identifying deviations from optimal equipment performance levels. You then want to eliminate sources of inefficiency. So comparing expected versus, current performance and identify sort of operational or design losses, right? And then lastly, you want also the ability to reduce energy consumption in terms of proactively identifying assets that are consuming high energy, their causes of why they're consuming high energy. So with the performance package, the goal there is to drive efficiency improvements. That brings me lastly to the fourth pillar, where all of this culminates into the APM cost reduction package. This package primarily does the financial impact analysis, identifies lost opportunities, and really associates a dollar impact to the packages, which help drive prioritization based on the economic impact. So through the 4 pillars, the health, reliability, the efficiency, and the cost reduction package, we are addressing the challenges that Carlos mentioned earlier in terms of human capital and retiring workforce. These packages, they provide a framework for knowledge management to institutionalize learnings, capture tribal knowledge, history of past failures, corrective actions, and we are leveraging the Forge platform to create that end-to-end visibility and drive improvements in asset performance.
Thank you, Zameer, for the details. I think this is very helpful. And can one of you please also share maybe an example of APM collaboration or synergy with other parts of the organization?
Absolutely, Inderpreet, I can take on that. Truly, as Zameer was describing, asset performance management is this cross-organizational effort, right? So you would like to have this single source of truth and tool that is useful for the process engineer, the reliability engineer, maintenance people, and even the field people. And I would like to use this as an example of how we can actually close the loop between operations and maintenance using this level of integration. So traditionally, from the asset performance management perspective, this is something that has been associated a lot just to the maintenance organization, right? But there are a lot of people involved in the ultimate goal of the company, which is keep those assets up and running and continue producing, right, to hit their KPIs. So one example of collaboration there is in the accelerated resolution of issues. From the asset performance management perspective, you will imagine that you will have someone in the integrated control center having visibility of an alert, conducting the root cause analysis, and having like all this workflow to identify a problem, right? But at some point, you need to have someone in front of the asset and to either perform a task or help with the investigation workflow. So one point of collaboration here is to automatically be able to create work orders for that frontline professional. And for this person in the field that has all this experience in terms of the asset, etc., to be able to collaborate as well with the person in the integrated control center. So essentially what I'm describing here is the connectivity of field professionals and people at the control center, which is essentially the concept of connected workers. This person being able to receive that work order that I was describing, being able to get step-by-step instruction on what is supposed to be doing, if it's just an inspection, if it's just performing a maintenance task, being able to have this very clear, but also have contextual access to the state of the asset this person is working with in terms of key parameters of that asset, key alerts and notifications for that asset, and being able to communicate right there in the field directly with the person conducting this investigation, in this matter expert. For both of them to solve the problem right there on the spot. And being able to identify the issue, decide what to do, have that visual inspection as well if needed, and provide all this collaboration. Now, this is very useful when it comes to identifying and solving the problem, but truly what you want from a performance management system is to learn from that experience, right? And that's when you would like to capture all those activities happening in the field by this connected worker, being able to ingest all that knowledge back into your system, not just for the sake of reporting or documentation, which is also very useful, but you would like to use this data to retrain models, right? And to be able to use them as a way to refine those models to predict future scenarios with that specific asset in such a way that you're truly tailoring that model over time thanks to this level of collaboration.
Thank you, Carlos. Great example. Moving forward, Zameer, one of the major challenges we hear from end users is that there's so many options out there. There are multiple APM offers out there. So what matters when selecting one?
This is a great question, right? Really a very critical perspective for our customers here. I talk to customers all the time. Customers are inundated with offerings that sound familiar, look familiar from a myriad of vendors, and are often confused as to which technology partner do they select. I'm aware of many customers who have considered doing pilots or a proof of concept, for example, for evaluating the technology. There are others who've been at APM projects for a couple of years now and still not been able to demonstrate the value to internal stakeholders or to the business. So while some of these could be valid approaches, in terms of selecting APM offerings, it really boils down, in my view, to 3 or 4 aspects, right? Number one is the deployment time. Secondly, the analytics and the content that the offering has to brings to the table. The third aspect is intuitiveness in terms of quick orientation to problem areas. And lastly, the accuracy of the models, the heart of the APM solution, right? So just to peel a layer on those 4 aspects, in terms of quick deployment, while most of the APM offerings out there use templated sort of models for quick deployment, with Forge Asset Performance Management, we are taking this a step further. We've done hassle map analysis for deployment times and what are the constraints in typically deploying these solutions. And we are exploring, using techniques, ML AI-based techniques for aspects of tag mapping and asset configuration and model building. The second aspect on analytics and content with Forge APM, we are providing one of the highest industry coverage when it comes to critical assets. Most asset classes, like your compressors, your heat exchangers, your boilers, going also into the logistics and distribution with models for conveyor belts and palletizers and booms and curves. Forge APM has an extensive sort of library of these pre-built equipment models that provides over 80% of fault coverage. So that fault coverage is a critical aspect of a customer choosing the APM offering. The third aspect is intuitiveness. Now, what do I mean by that? Once an APM is deployed, each APM system could be monitoring hundreds, if not thousands of assets, right? And with each asset looking at a further 100 faults. Now, this can start to grow real quick. And so what then becomes critical is the ability to have quick orientation to problem areas. And for that, then for those reasons, with Forge APM, what we have is, out of the box persona-based dashboards that provide quick orientation to where the problems are. So, we have persona-based dashboards for reliability engineers, for maintenance managers. We have those dashboards out of the box. It's again an important capability in deciding the APM offering. And lastly, I spoke about the model accuracy. Customers really want to select partners, technology partners, who have a proven approach with the models that they use and the accuracy of their models, right? One of the challenges customers have is the confidence in the recommendations or predictions from these models. I've spoken to customers who go, well, I don't know if based on this recommendation, I need to keep the compressor running and let it to fail or bring it down and take that corrective action. So what we see in the market is there are disparate tools that address this capability. There are tools that do a great job with mechanical health in terms of shutdown monitoring. There are others that do a fantastic job with data-driven analytics and certain others who do a great job with, let's say, thermodynamic models. Now, the ability to bring all of these together on a common platform is what Forge APM does. And what that does is it improves the confidence of the user in taking actions on those predictions, because then you have multiple sources and modeling methods that are pointing towards the same problem, right? I'll just end this question with a simple analogy of a car. Most cars have dashboards. Lately, we have very fancy dashboards in cars. Now, looking at the performance of the car in isolation of in the terrain that it is operating doesn't make any sense, right? So you might be looking at the mileage, the RPM, and other aspects on the dashboard, but really you want to harmonize that car with the terrain. And in the context of a good APM offering, it should harmonize that asset with the operations and the process that it's operating in. And so Forge APM does that, right? So to summarize, quick deployment time, robust analytics and content, the ability to have quick orientation to problem areas, and then model accuracy with a holistic approach, in my view, are critical aspects in selecting APM offerings.
Absolutely, Zameer. Agree with you. You mentioned analytics there, and that's another topic I would like to cover today. Both of you may agree with me that it is becoming a key part of APM solutions. So can one of you please share some details? What is actually under the hood at the analytics level that brings predictive power to an APM solution?
Absolutely, Inderpreet. I can take on that one. Definitely is one of the main components, as Zameer was mentioning, having this layer of analytics that actually will power your APM solution. Now, here the thing is that this layer of analytics, while it's happening, as you mentioned, under the hood and it's powering the whole solution, at some point it has to be intuitive, right? And that's one of the big things. But it truly matters what you're putting there. Right. Zameer already commented that we like to approach this from a more holistic point of view in such a way that truly you can get a lot of value from the different type of modeling techniques that you can put there, because truly they're giving you different ways of looking at your asset and looking at different things that could be happening with your asset. So we combine 3 levels of analytics here. First one is providing performance models. The second one, machine learning models. and then health and fault models as well. So these three layers, they work together to be able to surface that level of insights and that level of information that accelerates the decision making when it comes to an issue, and that root cause analysis that we were talking about. So that's our ultimate goal, to make it user friendly, intuitive. But truly, from the nuts and bolts of the APM solution, yes, we do have a lot of experience in performance models. This is something that is based just on physics, first principle equations, and they truly give you a lot of sense in terms of the performance of your machine. And essentially what they're doing is that they're measuring the work done by this machine, and they can quantify the efficiency when it comes to like the energy consumed versus the work that machine is performing. So these models are truly very good at recognizing the effects of changing process conditions, machine fouling, and process leaks, for instance. But they lack in other areas. For instance, like they tend to be a little bit slow when recognizing very small variations in the parameters of all the different variables of your machine, right? Or truly they don't provide like a straight indication in terms of a mechanical health, for instance, of a bearing, or the couplings, or the lube oil conditions. And here's where you have to start bringing other models, other modeling techniques into the table. For instance, if you want to address the first point that I was mentioning in terms of recognizing small variations from multiple hundreds of parameters in your machine, then you would like to start introducing things like deep learning, right? And here's where these deep learning models truly shine, because they are truly capable of measuring deviations from normal behavior of a piece of machinery, considering a holistic view of all those different parameters and data that is ingested in the model. So truly, we can calculate rates of change and provide a measure of the overall health of the equipment, and provide like a sense of the remaining useful life as an output of this model. That's one of the good outputs of machine learning models. But also naturally, they will give you the main contributors, the main signals that are driving this behavior. And this is fantastic, because now you can predict over time, ahead of time, what is going to happen with your machine, why it's deviating, and this is already giving you an indication of the main contributors of that behavior. Not mentioning, of course, that these models are super flexible and give you the ability to ingest new data and learn from your previous lessons, right? And make them smarter over time. So we bring that component to the table. And we also have the final component, which is health and fault models, which are essentially, these are traditional health monitoring models where you establish alarm limits. And you can start identifying things for your machine, like standard KPIs, uptime, downtime, machine availability, running status, all these kind of things, and associate also a combination of signals to fault models that are known. And this is very important, because it's already giving you a perspective now, in this case, from the historical behavior of your machine, on how to solve problems that you have identified in the past. What are the causes, what are the potential consequences, and the corrective actions that you have to implement there. So truly, from these three vectors of modeling techniques, performance models, these health models, and the flexibility that brings machine learning models, truly, when you put them all together under the hood, you can start surfacing user level all sorts of information that are useful for providing early warnings, that are useful to accelerate the root cause analysis, prioritize things for them to only focus on what matters on that specific issue, and being able to bring all those assets back to their desired behavior according to the defined KPIs.
Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. If analytics capabilities are ingrained within the APM system, it definitely takes asset management to the next level and makes things much easier for end users. So I agree with you on that completely. So with that, I'm going to move on to my final question, and it is a tough one. So I want to hear from you, what is the future of APM systems?
Right. This is a very interesting question. And so if we look at the problems that the industry is facing and the problems that we're trying to solve with asset performance management, the problems have not changed, right? You're still trying to address aspects of unplanned downtime, aspects of utilization, efficiency of equipment. So what has really changed is you want to now leverage technology. You want to leverage the enhancements in technology or disruptions, for lack of a better term. Have a forward-thinking application of technology to better solve these existing industrial challenges and problems. And so our mission within Honeywell is to make the job of our customers easy. And the broad end goal there is to drive towards autonomous operations, right? Using AI, ML, and predictive analytics. So the future APM systems, for me, needs to do the following things, right? Number one, it should connect the dots. It needs to provide that end-to-end holistic view of asset performance. Earlier we spoke about the integration of people with the asset, but this needs to expand to also integrate, aspects like advanced process control. Or operator actions, control alarms, with the objective of driving robust decision making and having a complete view of what impacts the performance of the asset. Let me give you an example why it's important to connect the dots. You could have, let's say, an operator on the console operating a unit or an equipment in a certain fashion, and his actions could be limiting the asset from, reaching optimal performance or peak performance. So connecting those dots, number one, is important. Secondly, the future APM system, it needs to start evangelizing and help users embrace advanced analytics. Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of the users that we talk to today have industrial backgrounds, are reliability engineers or process engineers or operations engineers or maintenance engineers. They do not have a data science background, right? And the goal is not that they become one. Rather, with APM, we should be providing tools that are intuitive enough for them to benefit from the outputs of these advanced analytics and modify, manipulate, use these models in a safe, intuitive environment. So you are sort of eliminating the need for the subject matter expert. Their input is good. It's needed. You want to empower the broader teams there. The third aspect, in my view, that's again critical for a future APM is cloud-based systems. Now, the future really is about trusting cloud-based systems that are secure, have sufficient compute power to retrain and validate models on the fly, and really provide that ability to cover distributed assets in geographically dispersed areas across the globe with scale and speed. That brings me to the scalability aspect. The fourth aspect that's again important here is the future APM should have the ability to scale across the enterprise. What do I mean by that? The ability, for example, quick onboarding, quick time to value, provide a framework for our users and customers to operationalize the offline data science workbench work that these users are doing. And lastly, there is scarcity of domain, right? Carlos mentioned in his opening remarks the aspects of retiring workforces, the human capital aspects. So the future APM system should be a self-learning system, should be adaptable, should provide a framework to capture tribal knowledge, institutionalize learnings, and really prove that time to value. In Honeywell, we are building asset performance management, taking into consideration these 4 or 5 aspects that I described earlier, and materializing the vision we have on with Forge APM that will allow us to rapidly integrate these latest analytics and help our customers drive best practices in achieving maintenance and operational excellence.
Thank you, Zameer, for sharing your thoughts on, future of APM systems. You mentioned a lot of issues, and I absolutely agree with that. And the industry understands all these issues, and we have been trying to solve this, but I guess we need to move a little bit faster in that direction. So with that, we would like to wrap up this discussion for today. And I again want to thank both of our guests today. So this is Inderpreet Shoker of ARC, and we were talking with Zameer Patel and Carlos Pazos of Honeywell. Thank you all for listening, and have a great day.